To say that making this video was difficult for me is an understatement because of how controversial the argument could become. But since the people who follow me know that I base my work on impartiality and therefore trust my judgment and competence, I tried to make sure that my preferences in literary topics did not interfere with the topic of this video. I hope I succeed. Hello everyone, for those who know me, welcome back, and for those who are new here, you are very welcome. I'm Irene Riderelli and this is Into the Books. Now, before I get into the topic, I want to make it clear that I'm going to focus more on the works than the authors. This premise probably sounds strange, but as the video progresses, you will see what I mean. One of the reasons I decided to talk about this topic in today's episode was because of a number of videos I've seen on TikTok. Videos where some content creators record themselves inside a bookstore and pretend to choose a book by a certain author based only on the cover, or after reading the synopsis on the back cover, the content creator goes on to talk enthusiastically about the book while showing it to their audience, and then the voice of the person behind the camera comes on and starts talking about the flaws in the author's personality. When they have finished listening the scenes committed by the author, the content creator makes a gesture of disgust, puts the book down condescendingly, and continues his or her book hunting. I hope I have summarized these videos correctly, so you can picture in your mind how these short videos that are currently going viral unfold. Speaking as an avid reader, but more importantly as a person with a critical mind and an attentive observer, I cannot give credibility to these type of videos because I think, based on what I have seen, that the problems mentioned in them are actually discordances with personal preferences. People who are religious, especially those who practice the Christian faith, will remember that famous phrase pronounced by Jesus more than 2,000 years ago, and which is recorded in the Gospel according to John, chapter 8, verse 7. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. The use of this phrase seems very appropriate for this video, given the profound message conveyed by these few words, based on the concept that no one is free from sin, and therefore no one is morally allowed to condemn the behavior of others. All human beings have our beliefs, political opinions, religious beliefs, etc., that others may or may not like, and that's fine because each person is different from the other, and that's part of the beauty of life. But what we have in common is that we all possess a functional brain, and we are compelled to use it because it gives us the ability to distinguish between the authors and their works, whether you like or dislike the author's personal choices. Let's talk about one of my favorite books of all time, Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. This book tells the story of Humbert, a poet and a pervert who becomes obsessed with Lolita, a 12-year-old girl whom he tries to possess, first carnally and then artistically, under the pretext of fixing once and for all the dangerous magic of names. What can we say about this character? Is he in love, crazy, or just a pervert? Is he a monster or a tortured soul? The answers to these questions are the key to understand why this book was so successful and caused such a scandal at that time, and in some ways still does today. The American podcast, The Lolita Podcast by Jamie Loftus, examines the novel in a very interesting way. Loftus tells us how it was clear at that time that the promiscuity of the teenage girl was a selling point, but at the same time that the love story was more marketable than the child abuse story, and that the precociousness of the teenage seductress was provocative, while an adult's sense of responsibility to a minor was not, that she was not a commodity, and that there was nothing less appealing than the guilt of desire. Let me be clear, this is not a dirty or erotic book. There is no room for vulgarity here. The reader is split in two. On one hand, there is no denying that the adult's love is in some way pure, but on the other hand, it is Humbert himself, which is also the narrator, and therefore we know his point of view, who shows us the true nature of his own perversion. Young Lolita has been robbed of her innocence and youth, and this fact indelibly marks her future. Lolita's character and story have left a deep impression on me and will remain in my heart forever, as only the characters and stories of great books can. Now, do I agree with Nabokov's choice of subject? Absolutely not, and nothing will change my belief that he was mentally disturbed, especially when it came to children. And here is where I used my best capacity of judgment to separate the greatness of this novel and its controversial subject topic from the author's mental conflict. This book is a masterpiece, and I strongly recommend everyone to read it because it exposes a sick mind and tries to make us understand how it works. Nabokov said that he wrote this book to shed light on the subject. Well, I have no way of proving whether or not what he claims is true, but what I can tell you is that this novel is so masterfully written that at one point you may even begin to consider that maybe Humbert's love is real and not just a demonstration of a disturbed mind. When an author has the ability to make you almost doubt your initial opinion, you know he has done an amazing job. I must confess that, based on what I knew previously about Nabokov, I would never have read this masterpiece. But fortunately, upon reading a bit about what this book was about, I decided to give it a chance and separate the author's personal side from his work, and here I am. Very happy to have done so and discovered this masterpiece. Did I change my mind about the subject and the author just because I loved this novel and it gave me the incentive to try to learn more about Nabokov's life? Again, I say no, it did not. But I think I broadened my views a bit. I do not share or condone the author's personal choices, but I cannot deny that he wrote a wonderful work that I will never forget. In this episode, I would like to invite you to consider the importance of discernment. If we avoid reading a book just because we disagree with an author's personal choices, we could truly limit our reading options. If we are willing to give a chance to the work of authors with whom we do not share ideas or way of thinking, let us remember that there is always the possibility of picking up the book of interest at the nearest public library or borrowing it from an acquaintance. Maybe we will discover that we were missing an excellent book, or in the end we will confirm our opinion about the author. I only ask you not to avoid reading some books based only on information that could sometimes be wrong or a lie. Thank you for joining me to the end of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it all. Please let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. I would love to read them. And if you haven't already done so, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with someone you think might be interested. As usual, I'll see you next time.